Welcome to another episode of We Don't Die, where my goal is to give you evidence that although our bodies will disappear, we survive physical death. Every episode, we explore this topic with men and women who have some incredible stories to tell us, and many have made sharing the reality of life after death their life's purpose. I'm your host, Sandra Champlain, author of the bestseller We Don't Die, A Skeptic's Discovery of Life After Death. And today on the show, I'm thrilled to introduce you with a wonderful gentleman named Arsen Marsubian. He's a 78-year young man who's had 3 heart surgeries and in the recovery process found the secret for living a fulfilled and happy life. He has been called Ageless Attitude Ambassador, and he goes by the name of Papa Soob. He's the owner and CEO of Soob Enterprises, covering life insurance sales, his work as an author and speaker and event planner. Soob is an acronym for Arsen's philosophy: success on a daily basis, optimism as a philosophy of life, overachieve in every task, belief in God and the universe. He has over 7 decades of experience in both government service and private business and is the recipient of several awards in both fields. His new book is titled Don't Die, 3 Essential Truths for Your Fulfilled and Happy Life, and I will have him tell us all about it on the show today. So welcome to We Don't Die Radio, Papa Soob.
Hi, Sandra. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I appreciate that.
Well, I just had a smile on my face when I was talking to you earlier and reading it, so I have a sneaky suspicion this will be a feel-good interview.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. It's always good to talk about life's experiences.
Well, and it's interesting too, because my book's called We Don't Die, and yours is simply called Don't Die, and they have 2 different meanings, and but we share something, those words in common. And the first question I always like to ask my guests, because the show is We Don't Die, is why do you believe in life after death and that we don't die?
Well, I'm pretty sure we don't die. I'm a child of God,
Hmm.
and I've studied the Bible. I've given my life to Christ, and so from the readings of the Bible, we are assured that the soul will continue to live. The question is where.
Right.
So there's no question in my mind that there is life after death. This is just a dress rehearsal. In fact, I'm working on another book right now that's called A Heartbeat Away, and it's going to be dealing with those times when it's just you're here and then you're gone, and it's literally a heartbeat and a blink of an eye that life changes.
Sure.
You know, in my book, there's 2 stories in the book I think that are relevant to the discussion for our audiences.
Okay.
One is my own experience when I had a second heart surgery within 70 days of the first one, and I was on the operating table for 13 hours and in intensive care for 4 days. Uh, the doctors never told me that I was in danger of flatlining, but during the 4-day period of time of recovery, I had many experiences that told me that I was getting ready to leave uh, this earth. And so can share some of those.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
would. I think
Yeah,
it's important to hear
and
stories, and I think you know
yeah.
that as being an author and speaker.
Now
Stories
that
make a difference.
no, that's one story I want to tell,
Okay.
and the other story is about my mother, and she's also in the book in several different things. This story I'm going to relate about my mother is not in the book,
Okay.
but it is relevant to her experience that she had a near death experience, and she when she told me about it, there wasn't any, video cameras and things that in that nature. This was in the 70s when she was telling me, or 80s. And I still regret to this day not recording it from
Hmm.
just audio as a standpoint. But it was a fascinating story that she told me. So let's start with mom's story.
Okay.
Let's start with mom's story. My mom was about 82 years old at the time. She had just had a gallbladder surgery, very serious surgery that she had, and she lived alone at the time. And after her surgery, she came home and was recovering. And then a couple of days later, I was talking to her, and she said, "Sonny, I want to tell you what happened, and I don't know if it was a dream or what it was, but I had a strange experience that I want to relate to you." So I said, "Well, sure, Mom. What is it?" Now you have to remember that a little background about my mom. She only had a sixth grade education,
Okay.
and she was born in Armenia, and the oldest of six children. And but my mother was very, very psychic, and she used to read cards for ladies, or used regular playing cards as a medium to give advice. And I always thought that was kind of strange, but uh, and the amazing thing about it was that she could tell people's past, not the future. They would come to her, and she would say, you were married twice, and your first husband was a drunk, and you got two children, and ladies would just sit there and their mouths would drop open because these were people she had never met before.
Right.
And of course, when you would tell the future, you could say, in 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years time, you're going to take a trip. Well, that's probably going to happen to most people.
Yes, exactly.
And so I was never into that. But when she could tell the past, I knew that she had some abilities, and she was very, very intuitive. And so now when she gets ready to tell me her story about what happened. And my mother was also raised in the Armenian church, so she was not really versed in the Bible. She had not read extensively at that time, or studied the Bible, or was with, quote, let's say, a Christian or believer.
Hmm.
So we have to preface that with what comes now in the story. So she starts out by telling me that she was in a meadow. She woke up and she was in this meadow, and it was beautiful with flowers and the bright light and shiny place. And then she came upon this place that had big, big doors, giant doors. And she looked around and she started to open the doors, and she heard a voice that said, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" And she said, "Well, where am I?" And they said, "Well, you're not supposed to be here." And she says, "But I want to come in." So she opened the
Hmm.
door, a little persistent.
Right.
And so she says when she opened the door, she entered this great big room, and she saw 12 tables, round tables, huge, and a man in a religious garb, as she explained it, sitting behind each table. And there was 12 tables.
Hmm.
And on each table was a giant book. And the man said, "Well," she said, "I want to come in." And he said, "Well, is your name written in the book?" And she said, "What book?" She said, "In the book of life." And he goes, she says, "Well, I don't know. I've been a good person. I don't know, if my name is in the book." And he said, "Well, if his name's not in the book, you can't come in." She says, "Well, where is this place?" He says, "Well, this is, you're not supposed to be here yet."
Huh.
And so She presses a little further and she says, well, is my mother here? I said, yes. She said, well, I want to see my mother. And she said, well, you can't. He said, well, please, I want to see my mom. So he said, okay. So they, they took her into a room, and she said there was all these ladies lined up, just standing there. And she went down until she found her mother, and then his voice said, you can see your mother, but don't touch her. Because if you touch her, she'll burn. Don't touch her. She thought that was kind of strange.
Yeah, sounds strange.
Yeah. And so she said, fine. So after that, then she wants to see her dad. Now this time they're telling her, look, you have to go back. You do not belong here. You're not here yet. It's not your time yet. So that she finally gets in to see her dad, and same story, all men in the room and all the rest of it. And so she sees that, and then she finally says that they tell her that it's not her time to be there. She has to leave. Well, she says that she then leaves, and she wakes up in a cold sweat. She said, I was so drenched, just her entire bedding had to be replaced and everything else, and just the total sweat. And she was literally shaking from the experience. Well, years later, again, this is a woman who had not read the Bible, but the Bible is very clear. It talks about, in order to get into heaven, your name has to be written in the book of life. Oh. And we have the 12 tribes of Israel, which would be the 12 men in clergy, in the tables. So it was quite of an experience for her. She was very convinced later, after she did start reading the Bible. I got her Bible with big print so she could read it and start studying. But it was very, very real to her that she had entered heaven and had a conversation and had come back. And so that was the first personal family experience where we had somebody in the family who had made that journey and come back. But there wasn't anything where a doctor, proclaimed her dead or that she was gone and anything else. And so whether that was a dream, whether it was a after-death experience, I don't know.
Who knows? But it was vivid to her. And did it make a difference in her life?
Yes, made a big difference in her life. After that, she really wanted to know. She started coming to evangelical church with me and my kids. And I got her a big print Bible, and she started to read the Bible. She said she was amazed at what she would read and what she would hear. The message on Sundays was so relevant and so close together. And I was fortunate enough to be with her when she accepted the Lord in her personal life. And so I know I'll see her again. So that was a great experience. And today's her birthday, in fact.
Oh.
Today, August 16th my kids used to call her Maga. That was her nickname. So that was
Well, happy birthday, Maga.
Yeah.
And my dad's birthday's coming up August 28th. So I'm...
How old is Dad, Sandra?
Dad would be... Oh, I'd have to do the math. Isn't that sad? He died when he was 74. And that was 4 years ago. So 78?
Yeah, 78.
Yeah.
Been right about my age.
Yeah. Maybe that's why there's something comforting about talking to you right now.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, how about your story when you went through you said it was your second heart surgery?
Yeah, I had bypass surgery in October of 99. And it was kind of a strange and emergency type of, not an emergency, but the doctors convinced me that I needed to have 3 bypasses, which I really didn't think that I needed, but they said I did. And so they went in and he did it, and they did 5 instead of 3. But in 30 days, when I went back for a physical to see if I could go into rehab. The doctors told me after about 20 seconds on the treadmill to get off. They did another series of tests and came in and said, we don't know how to tell you this, but 4 of the 5 grafts that we did have all collapsed and all the blood's going back through the clogged arteries. And I said, well, what do we do now? They said, well, we can wait a year because it's too soon to do the surgery now. Because if we opened you up, you could start to bleed and we wouldn't be able to stop it. And it's too dangerous. No, you can't do that surgery at this time. So I said, well, man, how lucky can I get? And they said, well, it only happens about 2% of the time. And so I was on the process of trying to get my life back in order and diet and exercise and try to live for another year to do the surgery. Somebody came into my life and suggested I get a second opinion and actually worked it out where I was introduced to doctors at UCLA Medical Center, which I had no idea how I was ever going to get into a place like that. But the person came into my life that knew somebody who knew somebody that was in there. I went, the doctors did separate examinations and tests and said, we can do the surgery, but it's 4 times more dangerous than the first one.
Oh, geez.
And it's possible that that you don't make it. The other doctors are correct. If we get in there and you start bleeding, it could be very difficult. But we can do the surgery if you want to do it. I said, well, let me think about it. You know, and my daughter was going to get married and everything else in between. But I had a mild heart attack, so it took care of the decision whether I was going to do this or not. So I ended up at UCLA Medical Center on the 15th of December, 1999. And the surgery was then scheduled for 7 days later, which turned out to be my 65th birthday.
Wow.
And we went in, and it took them 3 hours to open my chest, to get through the old scar tissue and everything else and to get in. 13 hours on the table before they, start to finish and got everything finished up. But during the time of recovery is when I had the most profound experience that I've ever had. At one point, I really thought that one of the nurses was trying to kill me. I mean, they thought I was on drugs, and between all of the drugs and the surgery and medication that I was on, that I was hallucinating, that nothing I was telling them was real. But I could have people come into my room that brought absolute darkness, and my room would get totally dark. And I could see at the end of this vast darkness, there was a figure waiting at the other end. And I couldn't make out the figure, but it had a beard and thing. And I kept thinking, is that my doctor? I couldn't remember what my doctor the surgeon looked like. And I said, who is that figure? And it was dark. But then I started to think about people who said they were going to pray for me.
Right.
And I said, well, just see, Tom said he was going to pray for me. And so thank you, Tom. And as I started to think about Tom, a little tiny cross appeared in the darkness in the room. And from that little cross came a light and it started to illuminate the darkness. And of course, that's what God is. That's where we have. That's why we see the light so much, because it disperses the darkness. But then as I would turn my attention away from it, the cross would be gone and the darkness would come back. And I would really be in a very, very dark place. And I was being drawn towards this figure through this darkness. And I didn't want to go. I kept fighting it, kept going back and forth and fighting it. And so I started thinking about more people. and praying. And the more I prayed, the more the crosses would light up the room. And then also, and then people would come into the room. Uh, uh, some of my children would come in. My youngest son would come in, Brian,
Right.
and he brought a, a ton of crosses with him. He brought a lot of crosses. And unfortunately, there were some people who would come in a room, and I would just tell them, you have to leave because they brought darkness with them. There was a force around different people, which was always was amazing to me.
Well, yes. I mean,
Yeah.
I think if you don't mind me just
Yes.
breaking in for a second,
Sure.
I'm imagining you lying there recovering and then having these experiences. And I know from some of the different research I've done, like we can very often pick up negative and positive vibrations that people have, or we go into a place and it just, we always use the expression, oh, it's got bad vibes, not really knowing what it means, but it's from what I'm visualizing as you're telling the story, like you're actually seeing the darkness or the negativity that's surrounding someone. And then when your son comes in, you're noticing the light and the good. And then the more you think positively and pray and think about people praying for you, the more light that comes in. Am I getting that right?
You're absolutely right, Sandra. That's
Okay.
exactly what was happening, and it was hard to explain to people what was happening. They were going, Arson, what's happening? And I'm going, uh, I can't explain it. And I'm telling you, this is what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to make it. And they're going, Dad, the, and I'm constantly checking the monitors that were behind me. And so I'm craning my neck to go a different direction. I got all these tubes and wires and things wrapped around. And so there's just all kinds of experiences happening at the same time. But I could just imagine my little hospital room
Mm-hmm.
is where the darkness was. But then there's the whole field force, and it was really like the valley of the shadow of death that I was going through it. And the more I would concentrate on Christ and the other believers, things would start to illuminate, and the darkness would gone. But there'd always be enough of it left that when I'd open my eyes or I changed my concentration, the darkness would fill the room again.
Wow.
So it wasn't a constant, once it eliminated, you keep going back and forth. And the other thing I have to really confess is there was a dark period in my life,
Mm-hmm.
so that uh, we often hear people talk about the bright light and seeing heaven and going through that. I can tell you, to me, it was in the opposite direction. With that, there's no question that there was evil standing at the other side of the darkness, but my faith in Christ uh, He won't leave you. So I was being pulled and being drawn back out of that darkness. Now I have this, what I'm sharing with you is interesting, is that I haven't shared this publicly before. I've told some family members and some friends about it, but I really haven't shared this experience publicly. So it's kind of, and I'm, it was 1999, so I'm pulling back
Sure.
on what happened. But now here was the funniest thing that happened during this period of time. The nurse that I thought was trying to kill me, it was an Armenian girl, of all things. And that was another thing, that when I first came out of surgery, I had a young girl, and she was talking to me in Armenian. And I thought, my gosh, I must have died, gone to heaven. And it says, how can I get a nurse that's
Right.
talking to me in my native language, and she's telling me it's okay, you're going to be okay, Mr. Arsubian, and everything else. And so the two nurses I had the first 2 or 3 days out of surgery, the day nurse, night nurse, were both Armenian.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was really, really strange. That went. But the night nurse, for some reason, I thought she had left the valve open in one of the arteries that they were doing for the veins, to taking blood and everything else. They had that all set up. And I thought she let that out so that it was going to drip blood and I was going to bleed to death.
Mm-hmm.
So I made such a fuss that they actually changed the nurse. and put me in a different room and gave me a different nurse for that period of time. Well, now we fast forward, and I have a dream, and I have an encounter, and I have three people standing there, and I have a voice that's telling me, you have to get one of these people to say that they love Jesus. And I'm going, what? So you have to get one of them to say that they love Jesus. And one of them is this nurse that I think is trying to kill me. So I pick her, and I call her over, and I tell her, do you believe in Jesus? And she says, well, I go to church. I go to the Armenian church and apostolic. And I said, I didn't ask you that if you go to church.
Right.
I'm asking you, do you believe in Jesus? Well, yes, I believe that, there's a God, and we should go back and forth. And so I guess I escalated my voice, and I finally said, I want you to say the words, I love Jesus. So finally she was like, almost she was going to placate me. She says, okay, yes, I do. I love Jesus. As soon as she said it, the entire darkness was gone instantly. The room just lit up bright. It was just, it was the brightest light I think I'd ever seen. And all of the darkness was gone. The figure was gone. Everything was gone. I called my kids in and said, okay, you guys can all go home now. I'm going to be fine. I'm going to make it. To me, the threat of dying was completely gone. Just with that act. Now I'm feeling better. I'm out of intensive care. I'm in the hospital bed. I'm getting better before they'll send me home. And I see the nurse walk by my room. So I yelled to her and asked her to call her in. And I sheepishly asked her, I said, I really want to apologize. I said, because I guess I was saying things that I thought you were trying to kill me. Mm-hmm. And she kind of laughed. She says, well, we go through that a lot. We know people on medication and they say things and do things. So don't worry about that. And I said, did I ask you to say that you love Jesus? And she said, yes. And I said, was that quiet? And I said, I did it. She said, no. She said, after about the second or third time when I didn't say it, she said, everybody in the ward could hear me, could hear you. And I'm going, no, I wasn't that loud. She said, oh yes, Mr. Marsubian. She said, you were very emphatic and you were very loud. She said, I had no choice. And I said, well, I want to thank you for that because you have no idea what you did for me with just that statement. And so anyway, that was the experience I had in the hospital, and I fortunately came home on December 31st, and my life hasn't been the same since.
I can't imagine, and I want to hear a little bit about that, but there's just something that's in my mind is just how powerful word is and our words are. I mean, we always hear about the power of our thoughts and energy and all that stuff, but two things. One is to have her declare that and have it could really transform your experience to you're going to live. But also my instinct is, and I do believe in God and Jesus and certainly higher power and all that, but if you're an individual that can get somebody to share that and open them up, um, I think many of us, if not all of us, have missions on this earth, and you just demonstrated your ability to change a life and help someone believe. So if I were God, I'd keep you around for a few more days because of that, and and inspire you to, do with what you did next, which is, and if you could talk about a bit about like what you've created, because you're all about living life. And maybe you could tell the story of why you picked the title Don't Die as your book.
Well, there was two reasons for the book. Once it was going to be that I wanted something that would catch people's eye, and also that was the opposite of actually what the book is about.
Right.
The episode tracks. That was the one reason. The other reason was a story about the great entertainer George Burns. But the book is the subtitle is the three essential truths for your fulfilled and happy life.
Mm-hmm.
So there's three major things in the book about what I experienced and how I came out of the depression and the period of time after the surgery and the years afterwards before I actually turned my life around. That's an interesting story because it happened almost 10 years to the date of my surgery and about 10 miles away from UCLA Medical Center in downtown Los Angeles when I really kind of turned things around in my life. But uh, the other reason was that the great entertainer George Burns one day was being interviewed by a reporter, and he had a cigar in his mouth and a drink in his hand and had all these beautiful starlets around him. And the reporter asked him, so Mr. Burns, tell me what's the he's 95 at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked him, Mr. Burns, what's the secret to long life? George took a cigar out of his mouth very slowly, leaned into the camera, big smile on his face, and he said, "Don't die."
That pretty much says it all, doesn't it?
That says
I
it
can
all.
picture him saying that as well.
And but for some reason, I never forgot that phrase. And so
No.
when I was going through titles for my book, and I had many of them, they tell you to write out
Oh,
10 or
yes.
15 different titles
Sure.
for books. And that just kept coming back, and I'm going, that's it. I'm going with "Don't Die."
Hmm.
But so that's where the title came from.
And can you talk a little bit about your three essential truths? Because,
Sure.
and I'm hoping everybody will hit up your website and Amazon and get your book, but just, I'd really like to leave myself, you, and everybody listening with something powerful for their life today. So
Well,
anything you can share to that with us would be great.
thank you. Uh, we have a mutual friend in Lynn Rose,
Yes.
and Lynn was the one that gave me the title of Ageless Attitude Ambassador. And she said you're always up and you're always just so bubbly and exciting and of course being around people like Lynn it's easy to do that.
It sure is. She's
Uh,
lovely.
uh, so once I was playing golf like 175 rounds of golf a year when I was retired for about 3 or 4 years,
Wow.
and I had the ideal life in the 70-year-old and was single and playing golf, doing whatever I wanted to do, and had my kids and my grandkids. I really had the ideal retired life, but I was getting very depressed, and we just lost a great entertainer in Robin Williams because of from depression
I
and,
know.
and, and, and suicide and stuff. So
Sure.
depression is a very real thing. And I've had enough psych background and experience in mental health and issues to recognize what was going on. But I was going through this thing. And then through a series of events and stuff, I met Les Brown and Lynn Rose, and I started to get back into speaking, started to go into seminars. Started learning again. I started to use my mind
Hmm.
and started to develop more of a purpose in life instead of just getting up in the morning and going to play golf, come back, have dinner, take a shower, rest, watch TV, get up in the morning, go play more golf.
Right.
And I started to realize that the depression started to leave. I started to feel more alive. So I thought, well, what's this? As I went through the book and the thought of putting the book together, I thought, learning and using and being transformed by the renewing of your mind is really critical.
Hmm.
So I started to do that. So one of the truths is that you have to keep learning. You have to continue to grow.
Hmm. Right.
Every living creature, everything is birth, planted, grows, levels off, and without a new infusion of meaning, starts to die.
Hmm.
Well, the secret then is As that you start to level off and start to die, in order to keep living, is you have to have a new birth and a new start and learn something new. Do something that you're passionate about. Do something. So in retirement at 65 and 70 and 75, what is it that you really wanted to do in life? Get
Right.
started and do it. Start doing it now. Learn it, prepare it, and do it.
Okay.
Which brings us to the second thing, which is to stay active. Whether that's to go to the gym, whether that's swimming, whether that's golf, whether it's bowling, whether it's hiking, whether it's fishing, whether it's whatever it is that
Whatever.
you want to do,
Hmm.
whatever that is, get up and do it. And we talk about it in the book as saying, suit up and get in the game. Stop being just a spectator. Get in the game. It's more fun in the game
It
than
is.
it is to just sitting out there and watching other people make a good living. Don't
Right.
sit there and watch television and watch other people make a good living and do things and hope that maybe, gee, wish I someday I would do that. No, get up and do it. The third thing, which is probably the most important, Sarah, Sandra, is to give. It's more blessed to give than it is to receive.
Yep.
But in the giving, and what that really means is not money. If you have money to give, then that's wonderful. But it's your time and it's your talents and it's your life's experience that you can share with others. And there's a thing that says that when you're more concerned about the welfare of others than you are about your own, that's really when life starts to happen. It's when you start to make a major, major difference in life. In one of the surveys that's in the book, and a study that was done by students at Southeast University years ago under the direction of Dr. Anthony Campolo, he sent the students out to interview 50 people over the age of 95. And he asked them the question, if you had your life to live over, what would you do differently?
Hmm.
And they had a lot of different answers, but there were three things all of them said. And said, if we can't learn what 50 people over the age of 95 what to do with your life, you're not listening.
Exactly.
And so number one was they would say that they would take more risk in life. They'd run barefooted more often in the field. They would just experience life more. They would take more risk in life. Wouldn't play it so close to the vest. The second thing they said that they would do is that they would be in the moment. Be present. When you're with your loved one, be with your loved one. When you're doing your work, do your work. When you're on your vacation, be on your vacation. Don't be in the office.
Right.
Be in the moment. Stop and smell the roses, I guess, if it is another cliche.
Right. But
But
we know what
just,
that means.
yeah, just be there. Enjoy it. Soak it up. Jim Rohn was a great one for that.
She sure was.
And I love that guy. What a great teaching he was.
You're right. Yep.
And the third thing was to do more things that would live on in the lives of others after you're gone. So part of the mission and things now is that if the things that I can do will live on in the lives of other people after I'm gone, then my life will have been of value.
That's those are awesome. And you know, I didn't expect the third one. Take more risks. It's like, okay, I always usually end the show with a great quote that I love from Neil Donald Walsh is life begins at the end of your comfort zone. Because I believe that a lot of great things happen when we can push through our fears and take action and take those risks. And of course, being present, and we spend a lot of our life thinking about something that's happened about in the past or worrying about the future, but it really is a series of being in the moment. But doing more things that will live on in the lives of others. That's like I've never heard that before, and I love it. And what a difference, because talking about paying it forward, we always hear that expression. But I think you and even me, we've documented our
Mm.
hearts into our words, and they're now books in the universe. And long after Arson and Sandra are long gone, they'll still make a difference. And even for any of us listening today, sometimes it really is just a little thing to make a difference in somebody's life. You have no idea the impact it can have, and then where they pay it forward, right?
Exactly right. In fact, I gave a speech. One of the talks I gave, a little short 10-minute talk, was your life matters. And you never know when you're going to say something or do something that's going to make a difference in somebody's life.
Right.
Uh, can I share one more story with you about
Yes,
that? About
sure.
that?
And then our time is running up, so
Okay.
you can
This is
conclude
a quick
that.
story about
Yeah, go ahead.
how your life matters.
Okay. I
I
love
was
that.
I was doing a training on how to do videos,
Okay.
and so I had done all this class and everything else. I said, okay, I'm going to do a video. So I propped up my Mac and put it on my desk, and I got the FaceTime and got all ready to go, and I memorized this story about time, and so okay, here I go. So now I do this little clip. It's about 7 or 8 minutes long about time and the importance of time. Well, and people can see it on YouTube, by the way. Go to my YouTube channel of Arson Marsubian on YouTube. They can see the clip.
Okay.
But then, and so I put it out there to the community and said, okay, how did I do? What did you guys think of the video? Blah blah blah. And so I'm getting feedback, but then all of a sudden I get one feedback from this lady who lives in Orlando, and she calls and she said, Papa Sue, yes. It goes, I got to tell you what happened. And she said, what? She goes, well, I was watching your video, and I went to make dinner for my kids. And pretty soon my 12-year-old came in and said, Mom, there's a grandpa on your computer. Can I watch him? And she said, what? And so we went back in there and we started playing the video. And she says, I have to tell you that my father committed suicide when I was very young. The boy's other grandparent lives in another state,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't see him very often. She said, so when we watched the video, she said, my son was so taken by you and what you had to say. And I was just wondering, would you be a grandpa to my kids?
Oh.
And I thought, wow. I mean, I made such an impact on that young boy. I had no idea when I did that video that it would make such an impact on somebody's life where they thought, gee, I wish I had a grandpa like that.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, she encouraged me, and I haven't acted on it, but she encouraged me at the time uh, to do a program and reach out and be a grandpa to a lot of kids who don't have one, and they can maybe have a virtual grandpa to ask questions to. So
That's brilliant.
you like that?
I love it. And it's so interesting because just hearing you speak right now, we each live in our own skin with our own set of thoughts, and a lot of them are negative, and who are we, and we can't make a difference. And it's just we can't always listen to that little voice in our head. We are so much more magnificent. And from what you just said, Arson, is to get out of our own way, and when we make our life about doing something for the life of another and giving, that's when we see who we really are. So, following those passions, taking the risks, all of that, I think will, and I don't even think it, I know it, you will live a happier life, a more fulfilled life. We can never, I say we never believe the little voice we have inside of our heads that tells us who we are. If we want to know who we really are, we talk to the people in our lives. And that's how you're going to find the truth who you are. You are Papa Sub and a grandparent to all that may not have one present in their life. What a gift. Arsen, Papa Sub, I am so grateful that we got to spend this time together today. Yes, the grandfatherly thing, but, I do miss my own dad, and to have a bit of, I call it fatherly advice and love and wisdom, and to hear your stories. I want to thank you for that. And also I want to thank you for not just little kids that might see your video, but the big kids like me inside who'll go check you out on your YouTube video. And also, you'll never know the difference that you're making with your words and your actions. And God bless the internet and that we have that available to
Yes,
give.
yes.
But really, thank you. Thank you for that all you stand for and all the giving that you do. And and yeah, sometimes and most of the times I think it's out of our darkness that we actually get to create who we are and what our life is for.
It's been a real pleasure, Sandra. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share and get a chance to know you better. And if I can ever do anything for you, please let me
Oh,
know.
I'll take you up on that. And for
Yes,
our listener right now, you can get a copy of Arsen's book, Don't Die, Three Essential Truths for Your Fulfilled and Happy Life, on Amazon or through his website, which is papasoob.com. So it's PAPASOOB.com. And Arsen is a speaker and an author and just a tremendously wonderful man. And can I share your email?
please.
It's Arsen, Arsen, at the don'tdiebook.com. And I will also post, I have just started a website for the radio show. It's still a bit under construction, but it's we-don't-die-radio.com. And in the next week or so, there'll be descriptions about all of our guests. And also, if you fill out your name and your email address, I include you in what's called the Insiders Club, which I have all kinds of great freebies of things that I have to offer. So this is Sandra Champlain. I do believe with all of my heart that life is an education for the soul and that your life here on earth is important and you do matter. So in the words of those 95-year-olds, take more risks, be in the moment, be present, and do more things today that will live on in the lives of others. So once again, in the words of Neil Donald Walsh, life begins at the end of your comfort zone. And take some action today, will you? And anything that we talked about today with Arsen, just to make a difference and or go after your passion or take a risk. So thanks for being here. Have a great day.